What's up, everybody? This is Luke with another EDH Deck Tech. Today we're going to be looking at the first EDH list that I ever put together, which is Athreos, God of the Passage. Athreos is hilarious, and he's political, and he's mean, and he wins games. He's very competitive. I've seen some other lists that use Athreos that just kind of cram in a lot of big black and white beaters, and I don't necessarily like that approach. This, I feel, has a lot more synergy and controls the board state a lot better, especially if you play in a meta with lots and lots of creature decks. So without further ado, Athreos. He is a legendary god, which means he's indestructible. He's bi-colored, which means your devotion to black and white has to be 7 or greater for him to man up into an indestructible 5/4. But the cool thing about him is his oracle text, his unique text, which says, whenever another creature you own dies, you either return it to your hand or target opponent has to pay 3 life. So you can use the politics to try and see who will pay the life if you want them to pay life, or who will let you keep your stuff if you want to keep your stuff. It's pretty bonkers. So without further ado, let's get to going. All right, lands. 18 swamps, and I think I only have 8 plains, but swamps and plains, your basic stuff. All right, just do that. Evolving Wilds fetches for a basic. Terramorphic Expanse fetches for a basic. There's going to be lots and lots of black in your devotion, which means Nykthos, Shrine to Nyx is solid, solid, solid. Caves of Koilos, Painland. Orzhov Guildgate taps, but it's a dual. Orzhov Basilica, it's a bounce land, but it taps for a white and a black. Tainted Field, it's a dual if you have a swamp. Flex slot land Vault of the Archangel. If you use more tokens, you can definitely turn this into a Westvale Abbey if you want, but I don't think it's nearly as powerful. And my Westvales are in another deck, so screw that. Buddy Land, Isolated Chapel. Urborg turns everything into a swamp. Scoured Barrens, gain life lands, but it's a dual. Shambling Vents, it's a dual that mans up into a 2/3 creature, and it's got lifelink. Reliquary Tower, you will be able to draw some cards, quite a few cards with this list, so Reliquary Tower is kind of a necessary thing for me. It's like Thought Vessels in every deck. Flagstones, I had it lying around, so it's in here. If somebody blows it up, then you get to grab a plains and put it into play. Orzhov Cluestone, we're into the mana rocks now. 3-drop taps for a black or a white. You can pay both a black and a white and sacrifice the Cluestone and draw a card. Orzhov Keyrune turns into a 1/4 black and white artifact creature with lifelink. I've never really manned it up, but it's a solid mana rock to have. What else? Land Tax. Land Tax is a TLDR, so very, very lots of text, and it's an old card. But basically it says, if you have this enchantment out at your beginning of your upkeep, if anybody's got more lands than you, any opponents, then you get to dig through your library for 3 basics and put them into hand. So helps you keep up on your land drops. Ashnod's Altar, it's a great sack outlet. You can add 2 colorless mana to your pool if you sacrifice a creature, and you can do that as many times as you want at instant speed. Soul Ring, it's necessary for pretty much any EDH list if you ask me. Now we're getting into the creatures. Okay, so I do have one infinite combo in here, and it includes this creature, Teysa Orzhov Scion. She's 1 in Orzhov colored for a 2/3 legendary creature. She actually can be her own commander, but you want a lot more tokens than I run in this list. So it's kind of the same, kind of different. If you sacrifice 3 white creatures, you can remove target creature from the game. And whenever a black creature you control is put into the yard from play, put a 1/1 white flying spirit creature token onto the field. It's got flying. So I'll put her there because she's part of a combo. Fleshbag Marauder, he's a 3/1, and when he comes into the battlefield, each player sacrifices a creature. So this is a controlling build in that it helps kill creatures from everybody, and so it helps keeps people from going too wide on you or getting too much board presence. And with that, it helps you get an advantage or 2-for-1 them in different ways. So just remember that. Shriekmaw, fear 3/2, but you usually evoke it out. When it enters the battlefield, destroy target non-black, non-artifact creature. Royal Assassin, you can tap him to destroy a creature. 1/1 for 3. Keeps people from wanting to attack you. Viscera Seer, this is in what looks like Japanese. He's a sack outlet. If you sack a creature, you get a scry. And he's a 1-drop, 1/1. So you can sack as many creatures as you want, put that many scry 1 triggers on the stack. He pairs really well with Blood Artist, and in fact, these two are actually part of a modern deck called Aristocrats that I actually have a deck tap on my channel for. So if you want to have a look at that, you can. Basically, you sack to scry, and then the Blood Artist triggers and drain 1 for every creature that dies, including himself or anything anybody else has. So it's a fantastic card, and actually just yesterday I won a game against 5 guys just by using the Blood Artist to sort of sack my way to victory. It was fantastic. Erebos, God of the Dead. He's also a legendary enchantment god. He's indestructible, and he mans up to a 5/7 if your devotion to black is 5 or greater. He's cool. Your opponents can't gain life, and if you pay 1 in a black and 2 life, you can draw a card. So I use that liberally now, just as a good card draw engine. Monastery Mentor, he makes tokens when you play a non-creature spells. You get a 1/1 white creature token with prowess, and he himself has prowess. So I usually just use him as a token generator to sack to the Viscera Seer or to anything else that I might need to get rid of more creatures and keep the board under my control. Cryptghast, he's got an extort feature. So when you cast a spell, the spell doesn't even have to resolve. When you cast a spell, you can pay a white or a black, and if you do, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain that much life. So if you're playing a 5-man game and you're the 5th man, you can extort, everybody loses 1 life, you gain 4 life. So it's a great way of leveraging your life total. And then whenever you tap a swamp for mana, that swamp adds an extra black. So he's very, very important. Card draw and mana, in my opinion, are the 2 most valuable resources as far as winning the game, not so much life. Windborn Muse is a ghostly prison on a stick. Creatures can't attack you unless their controller pays 2 colorless for each attacking creature. Eiley, I had one just sort of lying in a binder, and so I threw her in. She's not doing much yet, but who knows, she could. Legendary creature, Death Touch. If you pay a colorless, you can sack another creature and gain life equal to that creature's toughness. If you pay 1 and an Orzhov, you can sacrifice another creature and exile a non-land permanent. You can only activate that if you have 10 more life than your starting life total or more. So you have to be at 50 or above to play that. So who knows if she'll keep her spot. She hasn't really shown me anything anyway yet, but I haven't drawn her much either. Grim Haruspex, on the other hand, has proven her stripes a lot. 3/2, you can morph, but who cares? You'll never bother. When another non-token creature you control dies, you get to draw a card. So pretty awesome. Cartel Aristocrat is another great sack outlet. You sack it, and Cartel Aristocrat gets pro any color you want. Bloodthrone's Vampire is another great sack outlet. This is like a non-Tuco Husk, except better in every way. Sacrifice another creature, and sacrifice a creature. You can actually sack her to herself. And Bloodthrone Vampire gets +2/+2 until end of turn. So it's a Blood Baron, basically. Reassembling Skeleton is a champ in this list. He just won't fucking go away, which is wonderful for us. It draws you lots of cards off of the Haruspecs and gets you lots and lots of triggers off of the Viscera Seer or the Blood Artist or whatever else you need. Reassembling Skeleton, he's a 1/1 for 2, you can pay 1 and a black and return them to the battlefield tapped. So you can just sack them or chump block and then bring them right back. Zilliport Cutthroat is another blood artist, except it only works on your creatures. It's from Battle for Zendikar, and it's pretty well as good. Burnished Heart is the equivalent of a mana rock, really, if you think about it. You can pay 3 and sacrifice the Burnished Heart, which costs 3, by the way, and you get to tutor up 2 basic lands, put them onto the field tapped, and then shuffle your library. And with Athreos out, you can give somebody the option of giving it back to you or paying 3 life to get it into the graveyard, and not many people really want to spend 3 life to get rid of it. Otherwise, you can just recur it. So, Burnished Heart is fantastic. Divinity of Pride. It takes care of a lot of your devotional needs. 4/4 flying lifelink, and if you have 25 or more life, it gets +4/+4. So, it's a great beat stick. Karmic Guide, flying pro black, Echo, another 5. And it's a 2/2, and when it ETBs, you return a creature from your graveyard to the battlefield. So she's great as far as Recurrence is concerned. It was either this or Revelark, and I think she was cheaper. So this represents Flip Lily. She's a 2/3 lifelink, and when another non-token creature you control dies, you flip her and you get a 2/2 black zombie creature token. When you flip her, becomes a planeswalker with 3 loyalty. If you +2, each player discards a card, so you chuck a creature that you're just going to recur back later anyway. And you can -X and return a creature to the battlefield with CMC X. And then you can -8, and you get an emblem with whenever a creature dies, return it back to the battlefield under your control at the beginning of the next end step. So she gets to steal dead things, which is wonderful, wonderful. She doesn't usually stick around very often because she's just too damn powerful. Another value beat stick is Harvester of Souls. Whenever another non-token creature dies, you may draw a card. She's like the Haro Specs, except better because he's a 5/5, gets Death Touch, and any other creature that dies draws you a card as well. Iona. This is a dickhead card for EDH, but my local meta, my play group, is getting more and more spiky, so I got to kind of keep up. She's a 7/7 flying for 3 white and 6 colorless, or 6 of any color. And when she enters the battlefield, you pick a color, and your opponents can't cast spells of that color. So you lock them out of a color. Usually it's blue for me, because blue is the most shenanigan-y. Emiria Shepherd, 5 and 2 whites, flying angel, 4/4. And she has landfall. If you drop a land, you get to bring a permanent back to your hand from the graveyard. If you happen to drop a plains, then you get to bring that permanent back to the battlefield instead of to your hand. She's great, Recurrence. Planeswalkers, Obnixilis. 5 loyalty counters for 3 and 2 black. +1, you draw a card and lose a life. -3, destroy a creature, and you can ultimatum for -8, where a target opponent gets an emblem that says whenever a player draws a card, you lose 2 life. And that puts a pretty fast clock on an opponent that you're pissed off with. But this is the big one. This is the creature that usually you want to get in the graveyard, and then you want to recur as quickly as possible. She ends games. I've got a friend who hates this creature so much that he'll just scoop when she shows up. It's kind of funny. Shieldred Whispering One, 5 and 2 black, 6/6 Swamp Walk. She's a Praetor, so she's kind of like Elish Norn, except better for our purposes. The beginning of your upkeep, you can return a creature from your graveyard to the battlefield, and at the beginning of everybody else's upkeep, each opponent's upkeep, they sacrifice a creature. So she's just absolutely oppressive. She's a great commander in and of herself, but I like the white splash. Other Planeswalker is New Sorin from Shadows of Innistrad, over Innistrad. 4 and an Orzhov for 6 loyalty. +1, you reveal the top card of your library and put it into your hand, and each opponent loses life equal to that card's CMC. You can -X, and Sorin's going to deal X damage to target creature or Planeswalker, and you gain X life. And then you can ult him for -9, where you put a number of 1/1 black Vampire Knight tokens onto the battlefield. with a life link equal to the highest life total of all players. I don't often alt him. I just kind of usually keep flipping and using him for card advantage and then destroying stuff as needed. He's freaking great. Another really, really great creature that you want to make sure you get in the yard and recur right away or cast immediately is Butcher of Malakir. He costs 5 and 2 black, 5/4 flying vampire, and he is basically a Grave Pact. Whenever he or another creature die that I control die, each opponent sacrifices a creature. So you get to 2 for 1 people when you when you get a Shriekmaw or you get a Flashback Marauder. Now we get into the Recurrence. Obsidat's Aid. Return target permanent from your graveyard to the battlefield. Reanimate. Return target card from your graveyard to the battlefield and lose life equal to its CMC. Animate Dead. This is a long one. Basically, you grab something out of any graveyard, throw it onto the battlefield. It gets a -1/-0 counter, and if Animate Dead is disenchanted or comes off for any reason, you sack the creature. So it's a really easy way of getting anything. Unearth. Get back a creature card from your graveyard with CMC 3 or less. This might actually come out. I'm starting to question whether I need CMC 3 or less creatures, but it's another spell that gets stuff out of the yard and onto the battlefield. Graveyard Trail is the best one. It's an enchantment for 5 and 2 black. Whenever a creature you don't control dies, return it to the battlefield under your control at the beginning of the next end step. It gets a +1/+1 counter, and it becomes a zombie in addition to its other creature types. So you can board wipe and Grave Betrayal. If you have it out, everything at the next end step is going to go to you. And then you play, I have all the creatures and I'm going to fuck your life up. Anyway, Exhume. Each player grabs a creature out of his or her graveyard and puts that creature into play. Ever After. Grab 2 creature cards and throw them from the graveyard onto the field, and they become zombies as well. You put Ever After on the bottom of the library. Living Death. Everybody knows what it does. Take your graveyard in your right hand, all the creatures in play in your left hand, and you flip-flop swap them. Darkest Hour is the combo here. If you have Ashnod's Altar or you have another sack outlet, Darkest Hour makes all creatures black. So basically, when you sacrifice another black creature, Teysa gives you a 1/1 white flying spirit creature token, but because Darkest Hour is out, it becomes black. And so you just sacrifice a spirit and you get a spirit. So you get an endless loop of sack outlets. So you can scry to whatever you want with the Viscerous here. If you have a sack outlet and a Blood Artist, you just loop for infinite drain. You can do this with Grave Pact or Butcher of Malakir, I believe. There's a bunch of other cool stuff you can do with Teysa and Darkest Hour, but that's my one infinite combo. Now, getting into value artifacts and other stuff. Now, Spellbomb blows up somebody else's graveyard. So I've got some people that use their graveyard and they get stuff back and they Villainous Wealth for like 50 and stuff, and this just allows you to blow up their graveyard. Phyrexian Arena, lose a life at your upkeep and draw an extra card. The cheap Dark Confidant. Skull Clamp, enchanted equipped creature gets +1/-1, and when it dies you draw 2 cards. So you throw it on a token, you throw it on your reassembling skeleton, and you get to draw 2 cards. Dark Prophecy, whenever a creature you control dies, draw a card, lose a life. Black Market gets you up in mana whenever something dies. Karmic Justice, if somebody tries to mess with your equipment or enchantments, you get to destroy something of theirs. No Mercy, if a creature successfully deals damage to you, destroy it. Grave Pact, if a creature is put into a graveyard from play, each other player sacrifices a creature. So even when Athreos is out, a creature dies, it goes to the graveyard. So Grave Pact still triggers. That's how it's been explained to me by an L1. Wrath of God, make everything go bye-bye. Revoke Existence, exile an artifact or enchantment. This is good for gods as well. It's a good way of getting rid of Eroas or Perforos or something like that. Crawl space protects you. No more than 2 creatures can attack you each combat. Anguished and Making. Exile something. You lose 3 life. Dawn Charm is a fog that can also target a spell that targets you or regenerates a creature. Utter End. Exile target non-land permanents. Read the Bones. Lose 2 life. Scry 2 and draw 2. Diabolic Tutor. Grabs you anything. Buried Alive grabs you 3 creatures to throw in the graveyard to recur later. Ring of 3 Wishes, 5 to get out, 5 to tap, remove one of the 3 counters, and you get to tutor for anything. And then finally, Demonic Tutor is the last one. So that is Athreos. He is evil and awesome and very powerful. People in my local meta don't like playing against Athreos, but he gets the job done. So that's my kind of control. I like the aristocrat element to it, and it definitely keeps people off their game. They just can't keep up with all the resources that they're losing through all of your continuous Grave Pact, Butcher of Malakir stuff. So if you like this, shoot a comment or like or subscribe. If you have any questions or ideas or anything like that, feel free and leave a comment. I read them all. Otherwise, I'll come at you with another deck tech soon. Until then, draw well, play well. Cheers.